Hey everyone, welcome back to Code Row. Today we're diving into one of the most fundamental topics in C++, understanding the basic syntax of the main function and return types. So I opened my folder that we created in the last video called My First Program, and over here on the left, I'm just gonna click on Explore to launch this tab, and I'll just click on my hello world.cpp we created, and I'll erase everything. If you're brand new to programming or C++, this is where it all begins. So let's break it down line by line so you can get comfortable writing your very first C++ program. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into your code. So the first thing I'm going to type in is hashtag include and then less than sign and type in IOStream. Now this line is what we call a preprocessor directive. This hashtag include IOStream tells the compiler that we want to use the input output stream library for our program. This is just a library that allows us to use features such as cout for printing things to the screen and cin for receiving input from the user. And we're going to be getting into those pretty shortly. Without including this library, C++ wouldn't know how to display text on the screen. So let's go ahead and go over to the next line. So next I'm going to write using namespace std in lowercase, and this stands for standard. C++ uses something called namespaces, and std stands for standard namespace. When we write this line, we're telling the compiler, hey, I don't want to write std : cout every time I want to print something, just let me write cout. So let me show you an example of this. So if I have my int main, and inside my int main, normally the way I would have to print is using this standard cout. And then I can print something like hello world like we did in our last video. But because we are using this namespace of standard, I can simply just type in cout like so. And now I will erase this and actually just start by explaining what our int main is. But that's just an example of why we use our namespace, standard namespace. So let's begin by going over our int main. This line is super important, and every C++ program must have a main function. This is where your program starts running, and it's basically our entry point. Think of main function as the brain of your program. When you run your code, the computer always looks for main. And after it finds the main function, it'll execute everything within these curly brackets. So now what does the int right before main mean? Well, that's the return type of the function. Int stands for integer. It means that this function, the main function, is expected to return an integer value when the program finishes running. So inside, I'm just going to include that cout, and then I'll do less than, hello world, less than, and L. And don't worry, let's go over what this means. So this is the part that prints text on the screen. Cout stands for the console output, and it's used to send text or numbers to the console. The less than sign that we added here, this is called the stream insertion operator. Basically, you're sending whatever is on the right of this less than sign into cout. So this is going into this cout. So in this case, we're sending the string hello world into the console, which is our cout. And then we're sending the endl at the end of this string over here. And this endl part adds a new line after the text so that anything you print next appears on the next line. And now we're going to simply add a return 0. So now remember how I said the main function needs to return an integer because we assigned it to be int up here? That's where return 0 comes from. When we return 0, we're telling the operating system that the program ran successfully. In C++, returning 0 from the main function is kind of like saying everything went fine, no errors here. If something goes wrong, you could return a different number to indicate an error. So let's summarize. We included the library which made our code easier to write using this namespace std, and then we wrote a main function which outputs text to the console. And then the program ends by returning 0, meaning that everything worked as expected. So let's go ahead and run this program and see what happens. So if you see this white dot next to your file name, this simply just means there are changes that need to be saved. So I'll hold Control and click S, and that will go away. Or you can go to File and click Save. So from my terminal, and if you don't have this open, feel free to click the three dots, open terminal, click new terminal, and then you might start with PowerShell or something. Click on this drop down arrow and select command prompt like so. So now with this blinking cursor, the first thing I'm going to type is G++. And this G++ is our GNU C++ compiler. It's the tool that you use to compile your C++ code. When you write a C++ program in a .cpp file, that's just text. The computer can't run that directly. You need a compiler like G++ to translate your code into something the computer understands, called machine code or binary. Without running this command, your program would just stay as a text file and it wouldn't actually do anything. And then next, I'll type in hello world.cpp after our G++. This is simply the file name that we're telling it to compile. And then I'm going to type -o. And this -o option stands for output. So this flag tells G++, which is our GNU compiler, what you want to name the compiled executable file. Without this option, G++ would create a file named a.out on a Linux/Mac OS or a .exe on a Windows, which is what I'm using. So I've already ran this before, so you'll see this hello world.exe right here. And then after my -o, you can call this whatever you want, but I'll call this hello world. And this hello world is the name of the executable file that will be produced. So now when I click enter, it's actually just going to compile this .exe, which is over here. So it's going to recompile this. And now if I simply just type hello world, this will actually run that .exe. So when I click hello world, it's simply going to print out our string, which we defined in our main function, and it'll print out hello world correctly. And there you go. It prints hello world on the screen and the program ends successfully. Now you understand the basic structure of a C++ program. It might seem simple, but this foundation is key to everything you will do from here on out. As we move forward, you'll keep building on this knowledge. So make sure to practice writing your own main function and experiment changing the text that gets printed. Feel free to do some exercise, and eventually throughout the course, I will be giving you guys some exercise to try out just to really learn C++. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more beginner-friendly C++ tutorials, and thanks for watching Code Row. Like, subscribe, comment below what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.